KPAL News Time is 7:13. This is Acadiana's Morning News. Brandon Como and Bernadette Lee here with you on this Thursday morning. And joining us as he does for a monthly visit is Lafayette Police Chief Jim Kraft. Thank you, sir, for coming on in. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
And he shares the sentiments that we do about the rain. It's good that we had some, but now we want it to be done.
It's enough.
Yeah. He says it's messing with his hunting trips. So
yeah, I'm assuming that probably happens, huh?
Yeah, the oats came up, but the oats we planted came up, but now it's starting to interfere with the hunting itself.
Well, hopefully we'll get a break soon from the rain after this weekend. Hopefully we'll get a break for a while. But want to talk with you about a variation of topics this morning. And as a matter of fact, phone lines are open 232-1542. There's a homicide that y'all are working right now. As a matter of fact, it happened involving Alfred Street the other night. Can you kind of just give us the latest on the homicide?
Yeah, that was an argument that started in a little further down the street and ended up at Lena and Alfred between two individuals who knew each other, and a subject was shot and died on scene, and so we are working that, investigating that. The suspect in that case contacted us a short time later and turned himself in. Mm-hmm. And so our investigators are wrapping that up this week. And then we had a couple of other incidents this week with some one-on-one robberies where some subjects were shot. We had one night before last, and we had one last night. So continuing to see some of those events in some of those areas, and it's a big challenge for us in trying to work with those communities to stop the violence. And it's a lot of it is one-on-one or two or three guys who are, robbing people and of their cell phones and money. And so, we had a rash of that for a while, and it kind of slowed down a little bit, and we thought maybe going into the fall that we would see some reduction, but it continues to be a problem for us.
People looking to get money for the holidays, did they usually start like in October and then right around now and different things, or is it becoming more of a continual issue? What do you think?
We see more scams during the holidays. Mm-hmm. We still have the scam going on where the guy is calling people on the phone and saying, you didn't show up for court or jury duty. You got to pay, and PayPal and send it to me. That's not how law enforcement operates.
Yeah.
And, I can assure you that we don't, and the sheriff's office does not call people on the phone and say, if you don't give us this money right now, we're going to come arrest you.
Right. Yeah.
How
frustrating that must be, too.
I've gotten a couple of those calls. I tell them to come on. Come get me.
Come visit at my house. Please come put the handcuffs on me.
Me and my two brothers will be waiting for you. Smith and Wesson.
Nice. Lafayette Police Chief Jim Kraft joining us, and want to go back to Halloween. We just had Halloween over the weekend, and good news there. Not really any incidents being reported.
No incidents to report. It was fairly safe. Of course, the weather had a big effect on trick or treating, and we always get a lot of calls about changing the date and that sort of thing. But a lot of people don't know we don't regulate Halloween. It's always been celebrated on the 31st. People do plan parties and events in advance, and so to change, to go in and change those things, kind of, about half the people are okay with it and the other half are not.
Yeah, they get frustrated too.
So had we changed it to Friday night, all the football fans would have been upset with us. So we stay out of that.
Yeah.
So we always celebrate it on the 31st, but this year it was pretty quiet.
Yeah. I would imagine so. Kind of curious from your perspective. You were before the council this week, talking with them. I believe about the Tevin Lewis case.
The shooting update?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it sounds like it's kind of the same information that we've had prior to this, but was it more just kind of a restatement of, hey, here is where we're still at?
Yeah, it was. We had a death in my family about the time on the very night that shooting occurred, and so I had to leave that scene, and then I was out of pocket for quite a few weeks. And during that time, Councilman Boudreaux had requested a report or an update because he was getting questions from the community, and so our staff, agreed to give him a report in 30 days, but actually. The law says we have 60 days to do an administrative investigation, and of course, you have an ongoing criminal investigation. And with the 24 hours news cycles and social media, a lot of people want their information right now, and no one wants to wait. But these things, you have to carefully investigate them. You have a number of things to look at. You have the administrative investigation of the officer. Did he follow departmental policies and procedures? You have the criminal investigation of the subjects that were encountered. There was an ongoing narcotics investigation with that because of what was found in the house during the execution of a search warrant. And so you have 3 different cases ongoing there. And so to protect the integrity of those investigations, you can't just go out and publicly discuss and people really want to know, but we're under the jurisdiction of the district attorney, and he and I had conversation prior to me appearing before that council, and I reviewed what the talking points were going to be with him to make sure that information that he doesn't want released yet wasn't released. And that's to, you have to be cautious so you don't taint
your case,
a jury pool, and that sort of thing. And so people, we ask for their patience. We understand they want to see the video we seized, all of those different things. But, we have a criminal case to make. It's not like the Grand Theater. Grand Theater, we got a lot of information out right away. And by early the next morning, I don't think there was anybody who wasn't aware of the
all the
shooter's
details.
identity and all of the details. But it's different when you have a criminal case pending, and the case hasn't even been presented to a grand jury yet. So both the shooting by the officer will be presented to a grand jury, and so will the criminal charges we have on Mr. Lewis.
Okay, so all of that has to proceed at its own pace, basically, and it's next time a grand jury convenes is convened.
Yeah, it does, and people say, well, this guy was shot in the back. Yes, he was shot in his upper left rear shoulder. The bullet traveled at an angle, and so we know that he was slightly turned when he was shot, but. A lot of people seem to have difficulty, understanding that what is the threat? What is the threat to the officer? What is the threat to the general public? And so those are things those questions will all be answered in due time. And I think once all of the information in this investigation comes out, people will understand why that officer discharged his weapon. So
okay. Well, those are the questions we had for that particular issue.
Well, and I made a point of telling the council, and I made a point of telling the media after that presentation that there's a common theme here in all of these cases you see where the police have had to use deadly force, and that is compliance. There were 6 people when we drove up on that house. 6. We were told by the person who tipped us that they are armed. So we knew we were going to be approaching people who had firearms on their persons. And 5 of those 6 people stood still and kept their hands where we could see them, and they were taken into custody without incident. 1 chose to run. And, I got to tell you, no one has we have some people who have raised issues about, you shot a guy in the back and everything else. No one said anything about what was a convicted felon who's on probation associating with a group of people dealing drugs and carrying a weapon on his own person.
Right, which are all illegal.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So, but nobody seems to be interested in that. There's more focus on the guy being shot in the back.
Well, and this is what I want to ask you too, because we've spent time talking about, the national mood and dealing with police and such, but I want to ask you on the other side, because you've been a part of law enforcement for a while now, and do you feel that now more than ever there's more sympathy towards criminals now more than there have been, or has this been something that you've seen really before, or maybe all throughout your career?
It's cyclical, I think.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came on as a police officer way back in the 70s, there was an anti-police sentiment at that time. And I can remember, and Bernie, I don't know, maybe you'll remember that the bumper stickers that said, if you don't like the police, next time you need help, call a hippie.
Wow.
So, it's cyclical, I think, but I think some of this attention being focused on the police, and it's getting so much attention, coverage, is that the media, the national media, it's like they smell blood in the water. Anything negative about a police officer, they're going to report it. And then you have this crowd who's pushing for, we have too many people in jail, and we have, but a lot of those people in jail are repeat offenders. What do you do with them? You want to let them out too? Because what you have to remember, when a lot of these people get out of jail, guess what they're going to start doing again? Mm-hmm. They're going to start victimizing communities. And look, we have some good programs in place. I think what Sheriff Newstrom has done in trying to get these first-time offenders educated, get them a GED, find them employment. Those are all good programs, and they work. But you also have to have a program to keep law and order. Mm-hmm. And, we don't always look at some of the backgrounds of some of these guys. It's like they're, I saw a guy the other day in our CompStat report. He had 44 arrests and eight prison stays. Mm. That guy's not going to go get a GED and get a job and become a productive member of society. Mm-hmm. He's going to continue victimizing the community. Mm-hmm. And the unfortunate part about it is that much of this crime is black on black crime. Mm. And, the police can't do it alone. The police can't turn those things around or help those communities by themselves. It has to be the people within the community. The people have to take ownership of their neighborhoods. And you got to tell Mrs. Smith or Mrs. Jones down the street that your grandson can't come over here and deal dope, in this neighborhood. We have a nice neighborhood here, stop it. And I think on the other side of that too, from the government approach, is that these landlords who are just keep renting to, drug dealers and drug users, you got to be able to stop that. You got to be able to regulate that in some way to prevent that because that's how those things get set up. That particular neighborhood where that shooting took place was a neighborhood that we have been asked repeatedly to come in and please clean up. Mm-hmm. And that's why the crime suppression team was there, because they get assigned there every day. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what we're facing with that. Anytime you have a use of force incident, it's going to be thoroughly investigated, thoroughly reviewed, and we report the results.
I have heard lots of different rumors about this case, and it frustrates me because it's from people that I know and people that I trust. That's the thing I think that kind of frustrates me. I understand how people want to talk about stuff, but until people are sitting in front of a grand jury and then it goes to a case, or it doesn't, go to a case or whatever, it's real easy to believe somebody's side of the story. And that may just not be accurate.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what it centers around. It centers around the fact that the guy was running from the officer at the time he was shot. And can you be a threat to a police officer while you're running away?
All you have to do is turn around and hurt somebody. That's all you have to do.
Well,
and I think people
listen,
forget
studies,
that.
I'm not speaking about this case. I'm speaking in
generalities.
In generalities, action beats reaction every time. And so for a lot of people who don't understand use of force, studies show that a person not facing you with a weapon in their hand can turn and fire and hit you in thousandths of a second.
Yeah.
And by the time the person who's facing them can react to that takes hundredths of a second. So who's faster? The person who turned and shot. And and we've seen that time and time again in a lot of situations. Here's the other thing, that what if the person who's running away, he's a threat to the community and to the public? What if he had run into a house and taken hostages? What if he had set up on the side of a house?
This is a man that had a felony already?
He's a convicted felon.
Just like speaking at that case, yeah.
Yeah. And I think once all the facts are out, and let's wait for the facts, and let's wait for the investigation to be completed and thoroughly looked at by the authorities, the district attorney, and we've also sent copies of the case to the Louisiana State Police and the FBI, who, by the way, provided agents who accompanied our investigators throughout this investigation, shadowed them. Let's wait for the results. And that's what I was talking about earlier about the news cycles, is that everybody wants to know right away. And we just can't dump all of the information that we have and evidence that we have out on the public, because the district attorney has issues with that. So, and I don't blame him, because he's got to present a case that hasn't been influenced in any way to a group of people who are going to decide
the merits of the evidence, basically.
Correct.
So only because of time, we do have to wrap this up. But Lafayette Police Chief Jim Kraft has been our guest. Sir, thank you so much for coming on in this morning.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Cape Town News Time is 7:30. Bernie's got to look at news coming up.